Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
Big announcement came out of the LPGA Tour just today. So in case you missed any of it, let's get you caught up, because the LPGA Tour announced earlier today that Commissioner Mollie Marcoux Samaan will be stepping down from her role on January 9th of 2025. Liz Moore, the LPGA's Chief Legal and Technology Officer, will assume the role of interim commissioner. The Tour's board of directors will work with an executive search firm to conduct a global search for the organization's next commissioner. Mollie Marcoux Samaan released this statement earlier today saying, "I'm proud of the unprecedented growth the LPGA has enjoyed since I began my tenure. The strategy we have built for growth and impact, along with the infrastructure we have added to capitalize on the tremendous opportunity ahead, will serve the LPGA well in the coming decades. With the LPGA positioned for continued growth, it is time for me to have more time to cheer on our three amazing children as they live their dreams, while I continue to pursue my passion for building leaders, uniting communities, and creating value through sports, particularly women's sports." So we have got lots of reaction to come over the next hour or so, but right now I'm so pleased to welcome in our LPGA Tour veteran, Paige Mackenzie. Paige, we've just got to talk big picture to kick things off. I know rumours had been circulating for the last couple of weeks, but what are your big reactions to Mollie stepping down and the LPGA searching for that new leadership?
I think it's a great time to reflect on the last couple of years. I think there's been a tremendous amount of good news that has come out of the LPGA Tour over the last few years. Notably, the purse size changes, the fact that the women are playing for a ton of money. Even Karen Stupples and I at the season-ending event were going down the money list, looking at how many players were making $1 million or more, how many players were over six figures, how far down the money list do you go until you're making $400,000 or $500,000. It's dramatic how much this tour has changed over the course of the last decade, but in particular, even the last 3 years while Mollie's been at the helm. So I think it's a good time to reflect on the positives. It's certainly easy to nitpick and think about how it could have been different, or more importantly, what could be done in the future moving forward.
I was just about to say that, we've heard a lot from a lot of analysts and critics about her tenure as the commissioner of the LPGA Tour, and it is very easy to criticise. That is what we as humans are also good at doing. You mentioned some of the positives there, but just give us a better sense of the challenges that she really has faced in the last 3 years, and really the tour continues to face now.
Well, I think one of the greatest challenges is actually when she took over, and I would charge the LPGA staff and board of directors to put into place a coherent and consistent succession plan with each and every commissioner. I think with every commissioner, there needs to be a plan that they're not going to stay in that job forever, that they're not going to stay in the job for more than 10 years. It has to be a continual training of talent so that when somebody steps in day one, that they know and understand the job, and that there is a plan. When the new commissioner steps in, there should be a list of exactly the stakeholders that need to be called immediately. And I don't believe that that was necessarily in place when she took over. And I do think that that put her in a back foot position. There should be a handbook of every tournament owner, all the major sponsors, everybody that needs to be called and contacted. And if that is not requested by the incoming commissioner, that should be in place. And I think that's the responsibility of the board of directors now moving forward. With every new transition, there should be a playbook as to how the takeover should begin as it relates to relationship building. And I think that's the key here in this job, is because there's a massive amount of stakeholders, because you have a foundation arm, because you have a tournament arm with the LPGA Tour, as well as a teaching professionals arm. And even within the tour, you have 1 million stakeholders, or so it seems. You've got to know and understand kind of how the wheel spins around, how the cog within the wheel, how they all work together, and there should be a good understanding if you're hiring specifically from the outside of the tour, which is exactly what had happened with Mollie coming in without having a background within the LPGA Tour. So that would be part of the challenge for any new commissioner, specifically a commissioner coming from outside of the LPGA Tour, is to have and know exactly who those primary phone calls need to be first off, and build those relationships and strengthen those relationships.
I was actually surprised, like 50-50, I guess. Like, there had been rumors of some negative stuff that the players felt that Mollie wasn't doing. And but at the end of the day, like, you're never going to please 144 women. Like, it's a hard job. It was going to be a hard job for whoever came in. Mike Wan obviously crushed it. I am sad to see her go because I do think she was really putting her heart and soul into it and helping us, and she really cared about the LPGA and was trying to help us. But at the end of the day, there, like Amy mentioned, there was a couple things that players wanted her to kind of work on. But I mean, she was only there 3 years, so maybe she just needed a little bit more time. But here we are, and we're moving forward, and the LPGA is in a great spot. We have so many new events. We are playing for so much more money. I wish I was a rookie this year and not retiring just to get a piece of that money. But the LPGA is in a great spot.
Brittany, overall, when you look at Mollie Marcoux Samaan's tenure, do you think that she maximized the opportunity that was in front of her with this boon to women's sports, the popularity spike of Nelly Korda this year winning 7 times? How do you think overall she did sort of maximizing the potential of the LPGA and its players?
If you look at, we have new events on the schedule. We're going to play for what I saw, $131 million, which is up. We're moving in the right direction. The majors are all stepping up. We're playing for more money. We're on more network TV. Our deal is still always iffy, but I feel like we were still going in the right direction, even with, maybe missing the mark with Nelly or even having Caitlin Clark out last week at Pelican. But again, it's hard to say that now, but I mean, I liked Mollie. I think she was great, and I wish her nothing but the best.
Brittany, one thing that Amy Rogers said was a sticking point was the schedule, lack of continuity, play for 3 weeks, off for a month. How much of a talking point was that amongst the players, just the challenges of the LPGA schedule?
Yeah, in my 20 years, I think the schedule is probably the #1 topic, other than either slow play or slow practice rounds. So the schedule, we talked to Julie Inkster back in the day when I was wanting to have children. She was like, "Oh, we could drive to every tournament." I'm like, "Well, that's not a thing anymore on the LPGA. You can't drive to hardly any tournament." So we are always striving for trying to get like the men's, like how they have events in Florida, and then they kind of go to Georgia, and you can follow the tour along, and we're not bouncing back and forth from East Coast to West Coast or from another country coming back. So the schedule is always #1 topic, always trying to get that right. But that's not even just always on Mollie. There's other, people in the LPGA organization that are trying to make that puzzle work. And it's like a Tetris kind of puzzle of trying to, some sponsors obviously want their certain weeks and you can't get them to change. The majors obviously have priority of what weeks they want. So it's a tricky situation. And listen, I wish we were like the men where we had, Florida, Georgia, we could drive everywhere. It was, a lot easier, but it is what it is. And we got to follow the money sometimes. But yeah, the schedule is always a topic, a hot topic.
Brittany, you've seen a number of commissioners now during your playing career. What qualities or characteristics should the LPGA be looking for in their search for Mollie Marcoux Samaan's successor?
Did you just call me old?
A veteran savvy.
Yeah, veteran. There we go. It's really somebody like Mike Wan. Not that Mollie didn't, but he was on the first tee. He was out at the golf course, even in Thailand, Singapore, on the tees. Like, what can I be doing for you? How can I make your life better? What can I do to make the tour better? And he really listened to what we had to say. And again, you're not going to please 144 women all the time. It's very challenging. But somebody like that's really comes in and kind of puts their, career on pause and really kind of looks at what we're looking for and maybe make a checklist and try to, go after all those things, which I know Mollie was doing. So again, not to throw her under the bus, but just the next commissioner definitely coming in, asking the players, what they're looking for. How can we make it better? How can we grow together? I think is definitely #1.